Ew, gross.
Now, as I sit here in my house on the 4th of July, eating Domino's and playing video games all by myself, I can't help but remember a certain gem for the Nintendo Entertainment System that I never actually got to play as a kid. So I decided what better of a night than tonight to review this.
In the early 1990s, the video game market was at an all-time high, and the NES was a cash cow that everyone wanted a slice of, including Domino's Pizza. So what better way for them to market their product than to drill it into the brains of children? It wouldn't be the first time something like that had happened, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. So is this game any good? No. No, it isn't.
Yo Noid was a game released in November of 1990 featuring the Domino's Pizza mascot at the time, a character called the Noid, who's one of the most awkward looking and terrifying things I've ever seen. How the fuck this ever helped them sell pizza, I have absolutely no idea. The game was originally released in Japan as a game called... pardon me, because my Japanese is a little rusty, but Kamen no Ninja Hanamaru. During localization, Capcom teamed up with Domino's, changed all the stage artwork, sprites, and a few of the songs, and dropped this lovely bucket of shit on the good old US of A.
You know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this game's got something to offer.
Now, I normally have a very optimistic outlook when it comes to video games, especially platformers, but this game is a turd. A great, big, smelly turd. I'd like to blame the idea that the game was only intended to promote Domino's Pizza, but that isn't the case. And although the original version of the game's artwork and story at least add a bit of charm, they really aren't enough to make up for the fact that the gameplay and level design are total garbage. Controlling the Noid sucks. The controls are floaty, slow, and unresponsive. During normal platforming sections, your only means of offense is attacking enemies with a yo-yo, which works similar to the vampire killer whip from Castlevania, only this one moves around during in-air descent, which means you have to time attacks perfectly, because if you miss and you get hit once, you die. There's a few other power-ups that you can use, but I didn't even realize they existed until about the 3rd stage when I used one by accident. Now, one-hit deaths aren't totally uncommon in old platformers, but Capcom decided to do everyone a favor and not add any checkpoints. You died? It's back to the beginning for you. Couple that with a cornucopia of extremely cheap enemy placement, and you've got a fucking nightmare for all the wrong reasons. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for difficult games, but when a game is hard because of bad level design as opposed to good level design, any chance of me having fun goes right out the goddamn window. Things like that make a game go from being a challenge to a chore, and it doesn't help that there's barely any variety in stage design. With the exception of a couple stages that change up the gameplay, every stage feels like a palette swap of the previous level. Boring and flat with no creativity and garnished with repetitive music. Look at that. Singles only. Noid, you're looking for love in all the wrong places. But I don't think he minds any of that. He just wants his fucking pizza. In fact, that is the premise of the whole game. Since this incarnation of the game was created pretty much solely to promote Domino's, they needed to shoehorn a story in, and it goes like this. An evil green palette swap of the Noid attacks New York City. The Noid is apparently recruited by John Mayer, and if he succeeds, they'll pay him in pizza. After every other stage, you're forced to go through this tedious, unnecessary minigame, which as far as I can tell, serves no real purpose. The screen says pizza eating contest, but here's how it works. Opponent picks cards, you pick higher cards, you win. Pick pepper or hot sauce or some shit, and he'll get angry and lose his pizzas. This whole portion of the game is fucking stupid, and it takes about 5 minutes each time. I don't know why they would have ever added it, maybe to add length? It's dumb. It's fucking dumb. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm assuming this is what's replacing boss battles, because great googly moogly there aren't any. If they had just added some stage end bosses, it might have made this game at least a little more interesting, but they didn't. And instead of feeling fulfilled after completing a stage, all I was left with was emptiness and regret. By the way, little footnote here. I'm gonna get off topic for a second, but I'm pretty sure none of this shit makes any sense, because if memory serves me correctly, the Noid is supposed to ruin Domino's pizzas. He's not the Hamburglar, he's just an asshole. I guess all that's left, really, is to talk about the ending. Spoiler, there really isn't one. A guy hands the Noid pizza, and then he, for some reason, apparently tries to rip his ears off. My sentiments exactly. I will openly admit that I was fooled by the Capcom logo. I ignorantly assumed that this game would be good, considering Capcom had a reputation back then for putting out great platformers. But holy fuck, was I foolishly incorrect. I trusted you, and you betrayed me. Capcom? Betraying their fans? That's just crazy talk. Anyway, this game sucks. Play it and then shoot yourself in the foot, because it'll be the only way to purge the frustration.